What is up, everybody? Is I, Ronin, and as you can see, we got a new ban list here. I already checked it out, so I had my freak out moment. If you haven't yet, then, you're in for some surprises, I think. And, I seen it, reacted, had my freak out. I'm calmed down now. And, yeah, we're just gonna go over the impact of everything, I think. This ban list was huge, starting with Samsara Lotus, which was just kind of like part of a FTK with Trickstar, Black Cat, and one of the Nightmares. I don't know which one, but preemptively hit that, so that was kind of nice. Now for the first two big things. First, we have our first banned Link monster in the form of Nightmare Goblin, and quite frankly, good riddance. It was such a pain to play around. I wish they had hit Firewall, as does everybody, I think. But I think Nightmare Goblin's not bad. I also wouldn't have minded if they put Mermaid down to one, because I think Mermaid is a big facilitator of the extra link combo, because normally the extra link combo you end on some very low power monsters, so your opponent can just summon something, beat something over if they don't have the Phoenix, or they can just hit it really hard, do damage that way. But the mermaid just makes that so much harder to do and play around. So I would have liked that to be at one, but Nightmare Goblin, solid hit, solid hit. And then we have MX Saber Invoker, another solid hit. Basically Goki Extra Link has one of two turn one plays. They want to go into Isold, or they want to go into MX Saber Invoker, which then will lead into Isold. So another good hit makes it a lot harder for them to get their plays started without these two. Well, not so much with the Invoker, but it keeps them from being as consistent. So, pretty solid. No new spells or traps, so let's just go right into the limited where things are hot. We got a Assault Core. Now, I didn't know too much about this, like, before I recorded this, but, turns out you could loop it with Firewall and Cannon Soldier because it can just keep adding itself back, and that was just no good, so, blame Firewall. But, yeah, rip ABCs. Just really, really do. The deck, I think, it didn't need to be done like that. And now, the one that everyone is getting all on about, Elemental Hero Stratos, back up to one. Heroes, I honestly don't know how this will affect them. But, I don't know, I guess we're gonna see as soon as YGO Pro updates for this ban list. I'm probably gonna put together a video seeing if Stratos actually makes much of a difference in heroes. So till then, I'm not passing judgment on this. I'm happy that they listen to our memes, but I don't know. I want to see for myself if this actually matters. So don't get too excited yet. Then we got Morphing Jar, and a lot of people are confused about Morphing Jar, but I think I understand what happened here. Let's actually pull it up real fast. Morphing Jar. And we're going to the wiki. If it will load. It says it's loading, but load. Okay. Let me make sure I understand this right. So here we go. We got our boy, the Morphing Jar. Both players discard their entire hands and then draw 5 cards. So I think the idea behind it is if your opponent with extra linking and such has just a problematic hand, it keeps them from using that problematic hand. If you're going first, don't have much, you can just sort of refresh yourself, and it's not as huge a deal nowadays, so I can definitely see why it was unbanned. Now let's see what else we got. Electromite. Yeah, Electromite was a bit insane. You had the You had Link summoning to sort of control Pendulum summoning, and then Electromite kind of bypassed that, but now it's back to one, so Pendulums are back in a place, but they have access to a lot of other Link monsters. Electromite's definitely their go-to guy, but I don't know, I think they're still going to be a competent deck. I really do. Just because they still have a high ceiling. Yeah, they can't summon as much from the extra deck, but I don't know, something tells me that Pendulums are going to come up with other options. Now, the one that I am just absolutely ecstatic about. Okay, you not understand. I know my tone of voice doesn't show how excited I am, but I am excited. Psyframe Lord Omega. He is down to one. Now, see, I want to open by saying I hate Psyframe Lord Omega because even in Master Rule 4, your opponent could easily spam out just free Psyframe Lord Omegas. And there is just no playing around him. I don't know how you're supposed to. He's just hitting stuff from your hand, coming back onto the main monster zone. Oh, sorry about that. Has a huge body to boot. This card was just so. It was just so impossible to deal with unless you opened with like a hand trap, and even then, you could never really kill it. The only way to kill it was spin it, but it's so easy to summon, being a generic level 8 synchro, that even spinning or bouncing or whatever didn't get rid of it for long. So I think this is a positive thing. I think that it will make the game a lot more fun. It'll make zombie decks a lot more interesting. And I don't know, I'm just really happy. If you're happy, let me know because I want to celebrate with you. But let's get back on the rest. So next we have Evil Swarm Excitant Knight. Now, I'm actually going to look it up real fast because I don't really know what that card does. Uh, because I feel like I've mentioned it before, but I only started getting back into the game like around when Link started up again, so I just don't know what this card does. I am not familiar with it. So let's see what it does. Two level 4s. Once per chain. Okay, that's a little interesting. During your main phase or your opponent's battle phase, if your opponent has more total cards in their hand and field than you do, as a quick effect, you can detach one material from this card, destroy all other cards on the field, also your opponent takes no further damage this turn. Okay, so I think I see why they did this. I think I know why that's there. So my theory behind it is that they have a lot of they brought back a lot of these sweeping big clearing effects. We saw Morphing Jar a little bit down the list. We have Hand Destruction, we have Exciting Knight, and I think it's just a way to sort of combat extra link combos. Just sort of fight degeneracy with more degeneracy. Really just give your opponent something that they need to play around. Just make it so that they can't as easily just shut you out of the game. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about that. Let's keep going. Next up we have a Hero Lives, which makes sense. It was a summon everything pretty much, so it was like, I mean, yeah, especially with Stratos back, it just makes sense that that had to go. Because otherwise, a Hero Lives could just lead to a lot of possible degenerate combos, I think. And I don't know, this just makes sense. I realize it's a big cost to play Hero Lives, but I don't know, it just weakens the deck a fair amount. And like I said, we got card destruction here. Kind of the same thing as the Sight and Night that I explained, so yeah, really the same reasoning, I think. But let's keep going. There's a lot more to go over here. Next up, we have Hornet Drones, which is, quite frankly, just the best, as a one card Link 2 that didn't use your normal summon really at all. And even with it at 1, I think it's still going to be, very powerful. Startup engage is still there, so it's still very searchable. Sorry about that. Very just very powerful cards still, and I think the Sky Striker deck will be fine if it stays at 1. Like, I don't see them, being too weakened by it. Next up we got Super Polymerization, which is kind of awesome. It's another form of removal, which is great. Like, a lot of these cards, I think they were brought back to sort of counter extra linking, so a lot more rogue decks wouldn't just immediately be shut out, and Super Poly is another good example of this. I believe Super Polymerization is searchable, so that's not bad. You know, it's just another way to tribute your stuff. It's something you can force your opponent to use a Trigate Wizard or something on. I don't know, I think it was brought back because of the last format. Well, it's going to be the last format. And how exactly, unstoppable those extra link combos were. So they just gave us different removal options, and I appreciate it. Now we got semi-limited, and a lot more stuff is here. We got Dark Destroyer back at 2. Cosmos, still a very cool deck. They don't really do any much with their extra deck, and with Dark Destroyer back, their boss monster is back in place, still very searchable. I think Cosmo might be seeing some new stuff going on. I like to think that it can still be a very strong rogue deck, maybe meta again, but I don't know. I guess we're gonna see about that. Now a lot of spells. We have Called by the Grave, which makes sense because a lot of the times with, extra link boards, it was just like, hey, I can interrupt you. But then they made Called by the Grave, so it's like, oh, but yeah, just screw your hand traps, screw you. I'm going to keep going. So making it semi-limited makes sense. Still unsearchable. No, solid way to reduce things. I would have liked it if they maybe hit some hand traps. I think that was probably the better thing, but again, a syndrome of sort of the format. We unfortunately need hand traps to really counter some of these explosive plays that the top tier-ish decks can do. So until that stuff sort of slows down, I don't see hand traps getting hit. Like, I'm just gonna be real about that. Then we got limiter removal, and I am actually a little bit excited about this because you see, one of my favorite decks is Ancient Gears, and limiter removal is a really nice thing for them to have. So, might be doing some more play with Ancient Gears, maybe some Cyber Dragons. Just try to bump up those machine archetypes. Like I'm honestly pretty happy about that. I can't wait to try it out some. Now we also have Scapegoat, which another card that makes sense. Not as big a hit as I'm guessing lots of people would hope for, but still it's nice to know that they are hitting it a little bit. I'm fairly convinced that this might go down more if just more of those powerful Link 4s become a thing. It's a free bore load or firewall, so yeah. I have a feeling this is going to be hit more in the future once I see that hitting it down to 2 isn't enough to keep it down. And then we got terraforming, and it's had it coming for a while now. I think a lot of decks will be fine with 2 terraforming, so I don't think that hit really matters all that much. And now for the unbanned things. We are back to, I believe, almost full force Klee. Yeah, that's awesome, and it does make sense, with Link monsters, they don't have levels, so the protection effect doesn't apply much. So if you have a Link monster with a removal effect, that's 1 towers down. So yeah, that's not going to impact the game much. Disc Commander's back. as you know, is forbidden for a while. It recently did get a errata, so it was once per like duel, and it had to be under certain conditions, and yeah, just it's not such a great card now. I mean, maybe it does something with heroes, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Then we got Burial from a Different Dimension. It's back at free, so banished.dex, I guess, can use it. Like I don't know. I think it was fine at 2. At free, it's not gonna make much of a difference. So yeah. Then we got Ring of Destruction. We all know what that's all about. People realizing that it does not make a difference to the game as far as a errata goes. It cannot actually kill your opponent anymore. So I don't know. Yeah, it's fine. So yeah, that's the ban list. Some big changes, some not so big changes, and honestly, I think this is gonna be a fun little format. A little bit of a just a little bit more interesting, I think. The Goki deck, the extra link combo, very much weakened now, because if I recall, you actually have to go into Goblin twice for the ideal one, so makes sense. Makes sense that that'll probably be very weakened, I think. I mean, who knows? It's the Yu-Gi-Oh community. They're gonna find some other way to get around this. So, I mean, yeah, it just feels like they took away a lot of extra link power and then gave us back a lot of ways to counter the extra link just in case. And you know what? I'm down for that. I will adjust my decks accordingly. Expect a testing of Elemental Hero Stratos in the new hero deck soon. But yeah, like let me know what you think of this ban list. I am personally very excited for it. Very excited to see how certain decks change and adapt, and maybe if there's any meta shifting. But yeah, this has been Ronin, signing off.